Yeah, it's 25 minutes to 10 o'clock. This is Ian Payne in for Clive Bull, and thanks to Direct Line Landlord Insurance. Today we're discussing what landlords need to know about their tenants. With me tonight to explain, Kate Faulkner, Managing Director of propertychecklists.co.uk. Are there any new rules you think that landlords need to be aware of that they have to comply with when letting to tenants?
Yeah, there certainly are, Ian. So the big one that came in February last year, in 2016, was right to rent checks, which are mainly in England at this moment in time. And you have to do checks on every single tenant to make sure that they are legally in this country. Now, as a landlord, you might think you know who is British or not. However, you have to do the checks on everybody and make sure that you, for example, if they've got a British passport, or they've got a biometric passport, or that they have the right visa to stay in this country. It is your responsibility. So that's a big check you have to make.
OK, and I suppose they also have to check that they can afford the rent and the other property costs. So how do they go about doing that?
Well, you can do simple online credit checks, which are kind of OK, but I think really you should go above and beyond, because if your tenants stop paying the rent, then that's very bad news for you as a landlord. So, for example, one of the things that you can do is that you can ask to see their bank statements. That's really helpful because you can see their level of expenditure, but more importantly, you can see the date that their salary goes in and try and align when you take the rent so that yours is the first money that comes out, as well as make sure that you get really good references from employers. Don't just accept them turning up on a nice piece of headed paper. You make a call to make sure that that person is definitely there.
And do you have to take any tenant, or can you impose restrictions?
You can impose some. So the rule is you can't discriminate. So that comes down to the Equality Act. But for example, you could say, I don't want somebody on benefits. And indeed, your mortgage lender or insurance company may not cover you if you take somebody on benefits. Other things are smokers and pets. The only thing I would say is do be careful about saying no to people, because, for example, people with pets, they tend to find it quite hard to find a property. So as a landlord, you really want a long-term tenant, and if you take an extra deposit, agree on cleaning or returning the property to the state it was, there's actually no harm in taking pets, and you might have a great tenant that stays there for the next 5 or 10 years, which is kind of a dream scenario from a landlord's perspective.
So on that same line, are there any lifestyle considerations to take into account as well?
Yeah, there are. I mean, there are some situations whereby amateur landlords that aren't experienced, somebody's come in and said, look, I'll give you 6 months rent up front, but please don't ever visit the property. Come back later and the cannabis factory was kindly built and it's cost them a fortune. So do be careful, because criminals do operate in this area. And the other thing is just make sure that you've not got a tenant. For example, if you've got somebody that regularly goes away for more than 30 days, your insurance might not actually cover that scenario. So you've got to make sure that your tenant really is aligned with your rules and regulations from your lender, but also covered by the insurance that you have. That's really important.
Excellent. Thanks, Kate. And also thanks to Direct Line Landlord Insurance. If you want more information for a chance to win a tech bundle, you can go to our website, lbc.co.uk.